What's up, guys? Travis Holley here with the Strictly Strength Project, coming at you with day number 48 of 365 Days of Strength. And today we're going to be discussing a little bit more in detail the roadmap to Silly Strong. And more specifically, we're going to be discussing the warm-up and what that should look like, what our thought process is, all the good things that go into it. Cool? Before we start that, though, I want to refresh you guys on what we talked about yesterday. Things have gotten very complicated in the strength training world, right? We've gotten away from the roots of strength training and made it very complex and almost overwhelming for people to pick up. And I feel like that's why our strength communities are very select and exclusive and all this crap. It's scary to people, right? So my goal here with this roadmap to Silly Strong is to basically set the record straight, tell you guys what you need to do in a very simplistic manner in order to get strong. Cool? Sound good enough? Back in the day, things were very, very simple, as I've already stated. The strongmen back then did the big lifts. They did squat, press, deadlift. Okay? They picked things up, they carried them, they worked hard on the gymnastics moves, all of that stuff, right? Very simple way of training, but yet very effective. And we're going to go back to that way of training, not only because we know it works for them, but I can tell you that it's worked for me. My numbers are through the roof right now, and that's exactly the way I train. And so I'm hoping that you guys adopt this style of training or take some pieces from it and implement that into your program. So what we're going to do today is, again, discuss the warm-up and the thought process behind it. So I know a lot of you guys out there don't really value the warm-up. And I was that guy where I would go into the gym, it was chest and buys day, I couldn't even wait, I was ready to go right to the bench press, right? Stupid. Not only am I not mentally ready, but my body is just not even awake and ready to handle the workload that I'm about to ask it to put out, right? So we've really got to start to value our warm-up, and the big idea that I want you guys to adopt here is that your warm-up is your workout, okay? You have to approach it in that type of manner. Otherwise, you're just going to go into the gym and do the same old shit that you've always done. Blow right past any sort of mobility, any sort of mental prep, any sort of overall body prep, and then go right to the big lifts, and eventually it's going to nip you in the butt. So we want to attack that right now and put that behind us. Okay, so we're looking at both the mental and physical, right? We know in order to get warm, obviously we need our heart rate to get going, right? Blood pumping, all that good stuff. But a big part that's often neglected is the mental side, or also more specifically the central nervous system, right? And the biggest thing with this is you have to consider what you're about to do in your workout. We'll use two examples. There's dynamic day and max effort day, okay? Dynamic day is going to be sub-max loads, moving them as fast as we possibly can, okay? So it's basically just speed of the bar, cranking these things out quick. Max effort, on the other hand, we still have the intention to move it quickly, but because of the load, it's going to come out looking a lot slower, okay? And it's actually going to be a grinder on the central nervous system for sure, okay? So we want to make sure that we prep that system for the work that we're about to do. Now we start that with our warm-up, and the way I want you guys to start to structure your warm-up is this. And this is my opinion, this is what I've found works. You can take it for what it's worth. But I want you guys to try it before you shoot it down. I always start with rolling, foam rolling. Okay, I hit my quads, my hamstrings, butt, back, and a little bit of the chest if I can manage that with the foam roller. Basically taking the shotgun approach and hitting all the big things that just need to get the blood flowing, get any general gunkiness out of there. If I have something more specific, like lately, I've had my lat up here real tight, and it's affected my overhead pressing and anything that goes overhead. So I've taken a lacrosse ball in there and just kind of mushed it up, and taking more of like a detailed or surgical approach, hitting the hot spots that are really bugging you and really limiting your performances during your workouts. So definitely hit the roller. Not only is that going to loosen you up, but it also gets the blood moving, right? We all know that the foam roller is not the most pleasant experience in the world. You'll start to sweat a little bit, your heart pumps a little bit faster. These are all good things. These are things we're looking for. Okay, once that happens, and we're feeling generally just kind of ready to go, the next thing I hit is what I call dynamic movement. This includes like high knees, butt kicks, punter kicks, skipping, running, back shuffle, lateral shuffle, anything where we're just bouncing around, moving quick, and taking movement from point A to point B. Okay, you can really think of like a soccer player's warm up or a rugby player's warm up. Basically, just kind of stepping it up, amping it up a little bit, more intensity, gradually increasing as we progress through the warm up. Once we finish the dynamic, then we take a deeper look into what we're trying to accomplish for the day. All right. Again, we'll talk about max effort day and dynamic day, because those are going to take two different approaches. Let's say I have a dynamic day where the goal is moving sub-max loads as fast as I possibly can. My goal in my warm-up is going to be to move at a pace that's pretty snappy. Okay. If I'm moving sluggishly and just kind of slow, what do you think the result is when I go to pick up 10 sets of 2 sumo deadlift? It's going to be sluggish and slow. All right, so we've got to really prep the way that we want to perform. Okay, practice like you play. You've heard that before. So take that same idea and include that into your workout and warm-up routine. Now, if I have a max effort day and I'm working on maximal loads, I better be gradually increasing the load that I'm warming up with, right? I can start with something light, do a couple reps of, kettlebell swing, something that's going to get me ready to go for the movement at hand. If I have bench press, a calf raise is not very, beneficial for your bench press, okay? That's a little extreme, I understand, but take that and kind of think through that. If I'm doing an overhead press, should my focus be on my legs? No. You can definitely warm them up, and I would encourage it, but you don't want to be, banging out 5 sets of 5 back squat and cashing out the central nervous system before you even get to your press. Okay, so we're clear on that. So loading and pace, loading and pace are two big ideas that I really want you guys to consider when you're warming up. What is the goal of my workout? Am I trying to move fast, or am I trying to move a lot of heavy shit? That's going to dictate what you do in your warm-up. All right. Now, regardless of what day you have, dynamic or max effort, there's some specific movements that are always going to be common to your warm-up. And the ones I really like involve a kettlebell or dumbbell. So we'll just call those the kettlebell or dumbbell movements. Gymnastics movements, and that's essentially anything with your own body weight as the resistance. And then I've just listed it as other, but that's going to include like barbell good mornings or band good mornings, which I'll show you in a second, lateral band walks, band pull-aparts, and sled work. Okay, one note on sled work: if I'm sore, first thing I'm going to do is roll and mobilize. The second thing I'm going to hit is sled work. Okay, the dynamic stuff, it's sometimes hard when you're sore. The next best thing to do is hit the sled and just get your whole system working, and then hit the dynamic stuff. So keep that in mind. But a little bit more specifically as far as what movements I'd like to see with the kettlebell or dumbbell, I've got a list here. I'll just run down it real quick. We've got the Russian swing, goblet squat, clean and press, bent over row, sumo deadlift, RDLs, carries, and walks. Okay, so we did a video a couple weeks ago of carries and walks. You can definitely check that out and start to implement that into your warm-up. That's a great way to get your central nervous loaded and ready to go. But The biggest two that I want to talk about real quick are the Russian swing and the goblet squat. So I'm going to grab my bell. Obviously this is not a massive bell here, but you'll get the idea. The Russian swing, I'm sure we can all pick this up really quickly. It's essentially just going to be butt back and then prep swings until it gets to the point where it's right at eye level. Okay? And the goal here is to do the work with the hips and let the bell float up and pull it back down. Okay? That's a great one for prepping the hips and the posterior chain, getting the low back warm, all that good stuff. And it's a great one for dynamic days when you're moving a little bit faster. Everything has to happen quickly. Okay? The next one, excuse me. The next one is going to be the goblet squat. And this is something I would do every single day if you can. When you pick this up, you're going to grab it by the horns, pull it into your chest. Notice my elbows are down and it's high upon my chest. From there, just set your feet in a squat position, drive the knees out, and sit back, full depth, and then squeeze the butt at the top. Okay? So those are my two big go-tos. Obviously, it's not my only piece in the warm-up, but those are some of the movements that we do quite often, and have seen great results from that, so definitely implement those. Going into the gymnastic stuff, pull-ups, push-ups, air squats, lunges, jumps, animal walks like bear crawl or spider, handstand walks, any of that stuff is going to be awesome, okay? Specifically on dynamic effort days when you're looking to move a little bit quicker, cool? That's pretty straightforward. If you guys have questions about any of this stuff, be sure to just drop it at the comments at the end. But it's pretty straightforward for gymnastics. As far as others, we've got good mornings, lateral band walk, band pull-aparts, and sled work. We talked about sled work. Good mornings. I've recently learned a band good morning, and I love this thing. This is something I do pretty much every day just to get my posterior chain built up for, handling max loads and moving things quickly. But I know you can't see my feet right now. I'm standing on the band, okay? I've got the top half ready to go. I'm going to squat underneath, put it around my neck. And if you notice, when I get set, my back is flat, and I'm not quite at 90. I'm not completely table-topped out. I'm staying above, and from here, keeping a slight knee bend, I'm just going to stand all the way up, back down. And it's a great movement for developing that explosive power to finish out, your deadlift or your squat, and it's just a great movement to get you warmed up and ready to go. The last one we're going to talk about today is the band pull-apart. Now this one's a little thick for band pull-aparts. It was a little thin for good mornings, to be honest, but you'll get the idea here. When we do a band pull-apart, what we're looking for is, a grip that's shoulder width, maybe a little bit wider than that. The biggest thing is your shoulder positioning. A lot of people will tend to either roll their shoulders forward or shrug up or both, right? It just doesn't even look good, right? So we want to make sure we retract and depress our shoulders before we start to separate the hands. And from there, we're just warming up the upper back. Again, that band's a little thick, but you get the idea. I would recommend getting a thick band for good mornings and a thinner band for pull-aparts. Cool? But that's our discussion on warm-up. I know that's kind of a long video. I'm looking at 14 minutes right now, but hopefully it's all information that you guys find valuable. Again, if you have any questions, be sure to drop those at the comments. Otherwise, try this out on your next workout and see what the result is. Cool? The next discussion we're going to be talking about is going to be the movements. What movements get the biggest results, bang for your buck. So definitely tune in for that. And until then, guys, peace.